Hey everyone, and welcome to Imagine Spotlights. We're here today on behalf of the ADA Beyond Type 1 Collab to kick off this awesome interview series. Every week, throughout Imagine Camp, we'll be chatting with an inspiring person living with diabetes. They're going to share their experiences and insights with you and help show us all what it means to live beyond our diagnoses and how important it is to get connected and find community with others affected by the disease, which is, after all, why we're all here and why all of you campers are here watching us. So, my name is Todd Boudreau. I have type 1 diabetes. I've lived with type 1 for over 20 years now. I know that's a long time. I was 13 years old when I was diagnosed, and I've used every type of diabetes tech. I started using syringes and vials. I've used insulin pumps. I've used CGMs. I've used, blood glucose meters. And so I've really seen it all in the 20 years I've had type 1 diabetes. And I don't think I would trade any of it. And I'm super excited with our interview guest here today. We're going to be talking with Tiana Cooks. And I think I'll just let her introduce herself. Tiana, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm so excited. My name is Tiana Cooks. I am the community manager over at Beyond Type 1, and I myself have been living with type 1 diabetes for 7 years. So I was actually born and raised in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And growing up, I loved to play sports. I played basketball, softball, and I ran track. And senior year of high school, during track season, is when I was diagnosed with type 1. So, for the past 7 years, I've kind of used my story to help, inspire other people. And hopefully, today I can share with you all, and you all walk away feeling a little more empowered and inspired.
Which events were you running in track?
Oh, I ran the 400, I ran the 300 hurdles, I ran pretty much every relay they threw me in. It was fun. I missed track. I actually tried the pole vault, and I have this huge scar on my leg
Oh, no.
because in practice one day I had cleats on, or my spikes, and I was trying to pole vault, and I didn't make it. And I fell down to the ground and scratched my whole entire leg.
Oh, shoot. Pole vaulting always seems like something that would be so fun, but now maybe you're convincing me I don't want to try it that way.
You should still try it. By all means, just don't wear your spikes when you try.
Okay, good advice. So you were a senior in high school when you were diagnosed. Was it during track season? What did you have like the typical symptoms? Can you tell me a little bit about that diagnosis? Like how long do you think you had diabetes before you actually knew, oh, this is diabetes?
Oh, that's a great question. And I always think back to that time since I remember it so clearly. And I feel like it was at least a month, maybe 3 or 4 weeks before when I started feeling a little sick. I guess I'll give you a little more information about my diagnosis story. So, as I had mentioned, senior in high school. And in high school, I don't know if any of you guys have like bathroom passes or if you've had like a bathroom pass. So at my school, they gave us like this sheet, right? And on the sheet, we had about 15 passes to use the entire school year. And I remember I was like, oh, and if we didn't use our passes, we had like extra like prizes, I guess. So they would let us have like a lunch break or different things like that. And I had saved my bathroom pass. I had all 15 slots open. And then I remember one week I went through the entire bathroom pass and I was so mad at myself. I was like, oh, I was trying to get to lunch. Like now I have to stay in. And then I remember saying like, well, I have to go to the bathroom and I was literally out of slots. So my teacher was like, Tiana, are you okay? And I was like, that's a great question. Like, I wasn't feeling great. I was kind of like obviously using the restroom a lot. I was very thirsty. I was losing a lot of weight. And then I went to my track coach and I was like, Coach, I've lost like 10 pounds in the first 2 weeks of like the season. What is going on? And he was like, well, you probably just lost it because you've been running so much. And I was, of course, like, just been running a lot. And then I remember this is when it really like, hit me. I was like, okay, why is my vision blurry? I remember waking up one morning and I couldn't see. And so I pulled out my handy dandy iPhone and I typed in my symptoms. The first thing that pops up was type 1 diabetes. And I was like, this is it. I have diabetes. So I went and told my mom. I was like, Mom, look at this. Like, all my symptoms. I was like, diabetes, diabetes. She was like, Tiana, stop saying that. Stop. And I was like, no, like, I have it. And she didn't believe me. So she takes me to urgent care because I also had strep throat. And because my mom said, stop saying you had diabetes, I wasn't going to tell the doctor. And she was walking out of the room, literally about to close the door. And I was like, wait, I used all my bathroom passes. I'm 17 years old and I keep wetting my bed. I was like, something's wrong. I lost a bunch of weight. And then she was like, okay, like, we'll run some tests, send you home. You're probably fine. So she literally sent me home. And like 3 hours later, she called my mom and she was like, you have to take Tiana to the hospital right now. And so I went, and the rest is history. It was diabetes.
Wow. It's so funny. I mean, your story is very different than mine, but also very similar. I think we all have similar experiences. I remember feeling so bad about having to try to go to the bathroom more than once during class. And my class was 45 minutes long, and I would go once and I'd be like, I can't even make it to the end of this class. But definitely we didn't have iPhones when I was diagnosed. I was on the other end of it with my mom, whose brother has diabetes, saying, Todd, I think you might have diabetes. And I was like, no way, Mom. I don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong about that. And sure enough, we went to the doctor and he's like, yes, you have diabetes. Um, I did want to ask you, I mean, and this kind of goes to what I was just talking about. I think I was really kind of shy about my diabetes at first, and I was secretive about it. I didn't want people to know. I think, that's fine too. However you feel comfortable, sharing your diabetes with whoever you want is how you should go about it. But I think you said something interesting there, which was that if you hadn't used all the bathroom passes, maybe you would get like a bonus or something. That seems kind of unfair. Do you know, like, did you ever feel like you were being punished kind of for having diabetes, the fact that you ended up using all of yours, or what do you think about that was the system in place?
Well, that was before I knew I had diabetes. And so I honestly thought it was my fault. I was like, I don't know why I'm using the bathroom so much. And it made sense because I do think there were some kids that were like misusing the bathroom passes and just like going and going and going. And then they were like, okay, we need to figure something out. So that was the case for those kids. But then when I was diagnosed, they actually did just give me an unlimited bathroom pass. So I was allowed to go whenever I wanted to, and I wasn't getting punished at that point. But just because I was 3 months from graduating, I don't have too much experience in high school with diabetes, and so it was really cool that they were still able to like make accommodations for me. And I think if that's still going on and someone has diabetes and they know about it and they have bathroom like limits, I do think that's something that should be brought up because I don't think it's fair um, for us to.
Yeah, absolutely. We shouldn't be rewarding kids just
Yeah.
because, and I do think if for anybody watching or if there are any parents watching at home, if you don't already have a 504 plan for a student with living with diabetes, it's a great thing to have. We have resources at Beyond Type 1. I'm sure ADA has resources, but a 504 plan will allow for, your child with diabetes to have medical accommodations in school. I know that you, pretty soon after your diagnosis, I think, got very involved with speaking about your type 1 and with being involved with the diabetes community. So I'd love to hear more just about that decision-making process. Did you ever doubt like whether or not you should be so public about it, or were you pretty sure from the start? How did you become kind of like instantly this diabetes online person?
Yeah, I think growing up, I just want to make this disclaimer. I was a very shy kid in school.
Oh, okay.
Anytime we went to like parent teacher conferences, the teachers would be like, I wish all of my students are like Tiana. She doesn't talk. Like I would not talk for anything. Like when they like would call on me to read, I would be so nervous. But for some reason, like junior, senior year of high school, I just kind of broke out of that shell and I was starting to become more like I don't know, I was just more confident in myself a little bit. But then when I got diagnosed with diabetes, I was like, okay, I think this is a great time to use my story to help other people if I can, or to at least get connected to the community, because I feel like when we're talking to other people who kind of understand us and who get what we're going through, it makes it a little bit easier. And so I remember literally 2 weeks after being diagnosed, I go to my first event, diabetes related event, and I was like, this is really cool. Like, I can do something with this. And I know we have options in life, right? We can let things like really bring us down, or we can let them like motivate us and like fuel us. And as soon as I left that hospital, I was like, okay, I'm gonna let this like fuel me to like do something good with it. And so yeah, I ended up at my first event 2 weeks later. That same exact summer, I started helping plan diabetes camps, and the rest is history. I have been so involved in my community, and it has been so rewarding, like on the back end. And it's only been 7 years, and I really wouldn't change a thing about it. I would do it again, given the people that I've met. Like, I have been so inspired to inspire by these people. Like, I just can't even put it into words how just rewarding this whole experience has been so far.
Okay, well, you said you couldn't put it into words, but I'm going to ask you to put it into words anyways. I would love to hear more about the diabetes community because, again, this is just, it's, a little bit of an age difference, but maybe also just a difference in how we approached our diabetes. I think the first 10 years after I was diagnosed, I met two other people with type 1 diabetes, and one of them was my uncle. So I'm a little jealous of you. I know all of the benefits now that I'm really involved in the diabetes community, but if you could just tell me a little bit more about what some of those benefits are, what being part of the community means to you, maybe how you've been inspired by them or inspired them. Like I know that there's so much benefit I've gotten from the community. I assume you've had a similar experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been fun. First off, it's
Yeah.
been fun because you know how it is like when you meet someone in the wild with diabetes and you're like, wait a second, is that an insulin pump? But you know it's an insulin pump and you're going to ask if it's an insulin pump anyways just to start the conversation.
Yeah.
And then when you get to talking to them, you're like, wow, this is like such a cool feeling because you are talking to someone who gets it. And I think that has really motivated me to talk to other people because like I said, like when I was in school, I'm telling you, Todd, like I was so shy. I did
I don't
not.
believe that. I have such a hard time believing that knowing you
No,
now.
honestly, like today, people would not believe it, but I'm not kidding. Like I was like very reserved, very like to myself, and so I know the feeling of like not feeling comfortable um, expressing yourself or even telling people things about you. I feel like if I had diabetes when I was in elementary school, maybe I wouldn't have been as confident sharing my story. But because of like the experiences that I've gone through, I was like, I want to touch or be able to reach that kid or that person that I once was that might not be as comfortable sharing about their story, so that maybe one day they know, like, maybe I'm not comfortable now, maybe I'm shy now, but one day they'll be like me now and they'll be like, they won't stop talking. They'll be like super extroverted, want to share their story with everybody. So that is really
You
what has kind of pushed me and kept me moving forward.
Do you always ask people when you see them wearing a pump or a CGM? Do you always try to go up and talk to them? Sometimes I'll see somebody wearing a pump or like a Dexcom or a Freestyle Libre or anything, and I'll just give them like a head nod, just
If I see you talk in
like.
public, we're automatically friends. Like there was one time I was waiting in this line to get order food for 15 minutes, and all of a sudden I saw someone with a Dexcom on, and I was like, am I gonna stay in line? Am I gonna go talk to them? And I chose to go talk to them, and I was like, all right, I'll get back in line later. And I went and talked to them because I just feel like it's so rare. It's like they call it diabetic in the wild. And it's so rare to see someone that's like got their stuff on as well.
There's really nothing like that feeling, though. It's definitely like a unique thing to be able to just see somebody and know, oh, they know exactly what I've been going through. Like it's just unless you've lived with diabetes or been close to someone with diabetes, you don't know. So it's powerful, definitely. And I wanted to ask you. I know. Well, let's see. You're kind of like a big person in the diabetes online community. I know you've done a lot of volunteering for diabetes. You now work in the diabetes space. So diabetes is a I would say, a big part of your life. I don't want you to have to choose just one of the most, but I'm going to ask you to choose just one. So it doesn't have to be the most rewarding experience, but maybe just like one experience you remember where things just kind of clicked, or where you were like just so happy to have been able to, have diabetes or help somebody else with diabetes.
Oh, there's way too many experiences. I'm not gonna lie to you. And kind of piggybacking off that last question, like I'll always wear my insulin pump on the outside so that people can see it, just because like you never know who might see you and be like, wow, like she's wearing her pump on the outside. Maybe I'll wear mine on the outside too. And yeah, so one of the coolest experiences that I've had out of the many was probably right before COVID happened. And I remember going to this diabetes event and I was speaking at it. And after I got done speaking to all of these people, and there was kids there, this little girl, I think she was probably like 7 or 8 at the time. Her name is Cami, and I think maybe she'll see this. But Cami, I love you so much. But she came up to me and she was like so excited to see me. And she was like, look, I have a pump on too. My hair is curly just like yours. And she was like naming all of these things that were so similar with us. And she's like, look at my Dexcom. And it was just so cool because it's like, that is why I share my story, because it might inspire, or even if it doesn't inspire, it might just touch someone out there and make them feel a little bit less alone.
Wow, that's incredible. And Cami, if you are watching, shout out to you. That's great. Um, so I also know that I think you're going to be soon competing, or you maybe have already started competing in the Miss Colorado USA pageant. And this isn't the first time I think that you've been in pageants, but you can correct me if I'm wrong. For those of I know what it is, but for other people watching who might not know as much about the pageant life, can you tell me a little bit, what is Miss Colorado USA, tell me about your experiences doing pageants in the past too. I'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, so I started competing in pageants in 2013 was my first pageant. But pageants are really cool because I think a lot of people think of beauty pageants and they're like, oh, it's just like these people that go up on stage and they just walk across the stage in a dress and they're not very, bright, or they don't have just, I think there's a lot of stigmas when it comes to pageants.
Sure.
Like, that's kind of what I thought before I actually started competing in pageants. And then I was like, wow, like the quality of people that are competing in these pageants is just so high. Like everyone's very well rounded. We've all got visions and dreams and passions for our lives. And the cool thing about pageantry is that, yes, we do like evening gowns, we compete in swimsuit or active wear, but we also do an interview, and they really care about what you're passionate about. They care about how you're impacting your community. They care about how you care about other people. They care about just the well-roundedness of all of the people competing, and then they choose the person who they think will represent their state the best throughout that year. And I remember competing my very first time in 2013, which was also my senior year, out of my element. When I tell you,
Was
yeah,
it before or after you were diagnosed?
right before. So I did my first pageant right before, and I was like, yeah, this is going to be the best year of my life. Like, I'm going to do everything that I never thought I would do. And I did it. And then I got diabetes, and I was like, yep, this is still going to be the best year of my life. And just that first pageant, I remember going in there and, like, I didn't really have a platform. I didn't really have much. It was just a cool experience that I wanted to try. And I actually took third runner up that year. And it was really cool. I was like, wow, like I've never done this before. I was never on like collars and tiaras. This was my first time doing anything like this, right? I'm stepping out of my element. I would have never worn a dress or heels like 3 years before that. So I did that, and then I got diabetes. And then the next year I was like, well, I'm going to just keep competing. And now I'm going to actually have a platform. And I want to inspire other people who live with diabetes and just let them know, like, yo, you can do anything. You can literally walk across the stage with your pump on and your dex or your Dexcom or your whatever CGM you're using. You can walk across the stage with that on as well. Um, and so that's kind of what pageants are and how I got involved. I think today, if you were to ask me, okay, Tiana, like, what is your platform now? It has also evolved. I want to definitely advocate for people in the diabetes space, but more so, I think anyone, I think we know with diabetes, like, we live with an invisible illness, right? So not a lot of people would know we had diabetes unless we told them or they like knew what an insulin pump was.
Right.
And I think there's so many people out there that might battle a chronic illness or a mental illness, or they may have gone through something very traumatic in their life, or they might have just had like a life experience that was kind of hard. And I think everyone has a story. And a part of my platform is to inspire them to be confident in that story. So, confident regardless of your past, confident regardless of your disability, confident regardless of whatever it is that you've gone through in life, or confident regardless of the room you walk into. Because I think we all provide so much value to this world, and we all are so special and unique. And so I just want to remind people that whatever it is that you're going through, just to be confident regardless of it, because it makes you you.
Tiana, you just said something interesting, which was when you started to describe, participating in this pageant, that there's this kind of stigma or negative stereotype about people who do pageants. I think that, probably everybody watching can relate to that with diabetes. There's definitely a stigma out there with diabetes. I think a lot of people don't understand it. And so you have experience in this in more than one walk of life, but can you speak a little bit? Has that helped you fight stereotypes and stigmas in other ways, or how do you kind of battle like people's assumptions about living with diabetes?
Yeah, I feel like it does tie in perfectly because, like you said, like, people always stigmatize us with diabetes. They think that just because we've got diabetes, we can't eat certain things or we can't participate in certain things, and that is totally not true. And it shows, like, in pageantry as well. People don't think that we could do pageants because we have diabetes. People don't think that we can participate in different athletic events because of it. And I think one thing that I've learned after participating in whatever it is, whether that be track or softball or basketball or pageantry, there's always going to be people that have their own opinions, and sometimes those opinions will not be as nice. And that's okay, because we just have to educate people about it. Like I said, before I started competing in pageantry, I also had stigmas about people who competed in pageants. Before I had diabetes, I didn't know what it was. And so until we continue to educate and until we learn about things, sometimes it's hard to not it's hard to know what you don't know, you know what I mean? And so the more we advocate and the more we continue to tell people and educate them about diabetes, I think the more that stigma is going to go away. And I would just want to say this, even if people at school say mean things about you because you have diabetes, you just have to know that you're special, and that you have to have that confidence. You have to be confident regardless of what people are saying about you, because you know that you're enough, and you know that regardless of what anybody says, you're capable of doing anything in this life just as good or even better than anybody else. So that's my little spiel. Well, thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
That was wonderful. And I think it is just such an important thing to keep in mind, is that not everybody who prejudges you or assumes people with diabetes can't do anything or trying to be mean, they really might just not know. So it's not your job to educate people, but if you want to kind of help battle those stigmas, tell them the truth. Tell them, no, I can eat that. I can play sports. I played football in high school. And I think just, yeah, we've got a lot of work to do, but we've got great people on this call and great people watching from camp to be able to do that work. I bet you get asked this question a lot, and I'm sorry, but I just have to ask. Have you seen Miss Congeniality? And if so, how accurate is that to pageant lifestyle?
Okay, Todd, I know a lot of people are gonna look like that at me right now, but I have not seen it.
Oh, you haven't? You should watch it. It's a great movie. It did come out a while ago. I think it came out like 15, 20 years ago. But Sandra Bullock, has to go undercover in a pageant. I won't give away any more plot details, but incredible movie. Definitely suggest it to you and anybody else watching this interview right now. But um, I guess what happens if you win? Does that change things for you? It's great that you'll be able to use your platform just in the competition itself, but how does that change, if at all, were you to win this, Colorado?
Yeah, so I competed in 2019 and I took first runner up. And I love that you asked me this question because if you had asked me, then it might have been a different answer. But I think that our platform doesn't require a title. If I were to win, I think it would be an amazing experience, and I would definitely be able to, utilize it in a great way. But it doesn't mean that you need a crown to be yourself. You don't need a sash to have a platform or to inspire people in your community or to make an impact. Um, if I were to win, I would definitely cry. I've been, trying for this for quite some time now. And I come pretty close every time, but I just haven't snagged it yet. So it would just be really rewarding and it would be a great experience. But I think overall, I don't know that it would change much in regards to the things that I'm currently passionate about. Maybe build my platform out, a little more, which would be awesome. I might be able to touch more people, but overall, I think it would be a great experience. And I want to just inspire people at the end of the day, whatever that looks like, whether it's with Miss Colorado or without it. But I know I have a lot of people who are rooting for me, and I'm rooting for me this year, and I think I'm gonna do it. So let's just check back in August
I
16th.
know, I know we're all rooting for you at Beyond Type 1, and I know everybody at the ADA is rooting for you, and I'm sure everybody watching is now rooting for you too. So very exciting. When does that happen, actually?
The pageant is August 14th and 15th, so it's coming up in just 2 months. I'm really excited. So my dress, you didn't ask, but I'm just gonna let you know. I've never been like a huge pageant like girl. Like I have never been like, okay, I have to get like a $3,000 dress. Like I always used to buy my dresses from like the consignment store. They would be like $20, $30. My last dress was it was not expensive at all. This year, my dress is going to be, I won't give too much away because I want you guys to all tune in. You can definitely watch it, stream it. But my dress is going to be very gorgeous, long. I'm thinking long sleeves. It's going to be very like simple but elegant. It's going to be gorgeous.
How much thought do you put into when you're picking out an outfit, like where your devices will go, or if you'll be showing your devices? Is that something you think about? How much does that come into play when deciding what you're going to wear?
Yeah, so when I'm wearing a dress, so in pageants particularly, or if I was going to like prom or homecoming or something like that, I definitely still wear my pump if I can. I'll try to just make it work. So let's say I'm wearing like a dress with like a strap right here. What I'll do is I'll just pull it up through my shirt and then I'll just strap it here or strap it in the back because I have a little clip. Let me show you. I have a little clip on my pump, so it makes it really easy to just clip it wherever I need to.
Uh,
Let's say I wasn't wearing the clip, I would actually just put on like a little belt, or they have these things you can put on your leg, and you can just put it inside of there. If I was wearing like a dress that was like tighter, I would definitely just try to attach it to here or the back of my dress. If it was a looser dress at the bottom, I could just, hook it here or put it inside of something. If I'm wearing skirts though, and sometimes I will do this in dresses as well, is I'll just wear like I don't know, spandex or like shorts underneath, and I will just clip it onto the shorts because it makes it really easy. The hard part though is like when you're going to the bathroom or when you need to bolus, like I'll just go and like bolus. That's the
sure.
one time I go to the bathroom. Otherwise, I always have it out. You can always catch me with my pump on. Uh, loud and
So do
proud.
you not worry about that at all? Like when you're on stage in the pageant and everybody's looking at you, do you try to hide your pump? Do you keep it out? Do you not really even think about it?
Not at all. I would never hide it just because I think I'm so grateful for it. Like my pump just keeps me alive every day. My CGM helps me so much. Like what would I do without this technology? So I just don't feel like I should be ashamed to wear something that's literally helping me live. And I want everybody to see it because it's a part of me and it makes me, proud. And so when I am on stage, I intentionally will put my pump or my CGM somewhere so that people can see it. And then if I get to the on stage question, which I did last year, I always try to tie in diabetes somehow so that I can talk about it to the audience too. But yeah, I'm definitely not. I'm not embarrassed, and I just would say to anybody who might be embarrassed or maybe not super confident to wear their devices on the outside so that people can see them, it's okay. You don't always have to show your devices and you don't always have to want to talk about it, but just know that there's nothing to be ashamed of, like at all. um, I think that your devices make you so special, and so rock them proudly and be confident regardless.
I want to ask you one last question before we wrap up, which is not everybody is going to be able to be in a pageant, but I think everybody can advocate for diabetes. So, what advice would you have for people, whether or not they want to do a pageant or they want to, be vocal online, or if they're really shy and maybe they don't want to be very public? Um, what advice do you have for people who do want to get involved and who do want to give back, to other people like me and you and everybody watching living with diabetes?
I would say if you want to get involved, do what makes sense for you. So just because Tiana is very vocal about her diabetes and just because Tiana loves to talk to other people about it doesn't mean that you have to. If getting involved for you just means maybe telling people that you meet about the warning signs of diabetes, maybe that might look different for you. It might look like um, being vocal just in your community and not online. There's this huge conception that in order to be doing something, it's a misconception that in order to be making an impact, you have to be posting or talking about it. And that's totally not true. You can make an impact in your own way. Maybe you write cards to people at your local hospital. That's how I started. I actually volunteered at my local hospital. Maybe you just get involved with your community and it's not online. There's probably support groups going on in your community, and we have an app called our Beyond Type 1 app, shameless plug. And that community is just a great way to meet other people with type 1 and help them out. If they have a question and you're like, oh, I know the answer to that because I've experienced it, why don't you go up there and just talk to them there? There is just so many ways to get involved, and it doesn't look like competing in a beauty pageant all the time. It doesn't. Or it doesn't look like having a platform online. I actually helped set up support groups in my community, and those were super fun. So sometimes there would be 5 people, other times there would be 50 people at the support groups, and it's just cool to, like I said, build that community and that network.
Awesome. I think that's all great advice. Definitely, if you need more advice or more resources, you can go to Beyond Type 1's website. You can go to ADA's website, who are putting on this wonderful camp right now. And we want to thank all of you. I hope you're having an incredible time at Imagine Camp. Stay tuned for more of these Imagine Spotlights. We're going to be here every week, and this is being brought to you by the ADA and Beyond Type 1 collab. So Tiana, thanks again. This is wonderful. Good luck. And I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.